Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of Leading on Monday. My name is Florin, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And I'm joined by my friend and colleague at the Maxwell Leadership Organization, Madalina. Hi, Madalina.
Hello, Florin. Nice to see you again and nice to be here with everybody.
Yeah, nice to be with you. So, how are you doing today?
Today I'm good. And last Friday I had a very important, let's say, wake up call for me. And I think it's a very good message for everybody. Be careful what you put in your schedule because the health is important, is way more important than anything else. And you can plan and schedule everything you want, but if your health is not in a good way, then you cannot do anything else. So health is the most important thing in life.
Wow, thank you for that reminder. And I think because this ties in today's lesson, so you got some feedback, right? You were doing some things there. You were having like your many of us, driven individuals, entrepreneurs, like we have our own agenda and things that we do, and then health required your attention, and you got some feedback, right?
Yes. I got some feedback from my body. I actually don't know how to interpret, how to think about it. I had a huge headache from morning until evening, and I couldn't do anything else, even though I had some meetings scheduled with people, some business to do, tasks to solve, phone calls to do, and things like that. And if we are in this topic today with feedback, we can receive feedback also from our bodies, not only for our people around us. And it's really important to understand the signs before the big sign.
Uh,
So we need to
Absolutely.
understand the feedback and the message between the lines.
hmm And I think that's really good introduction because that's the purpose of feedback, right? So someone that cares about us, like if there is a leader, right, that cares about us, a mentor maybe that we have in our lives, a spouse, a family member, a friend that sees something that we cannot see ourselves, right? Because when you think about feedback, it's mostly like someone holding a mirror up to us, right? And how many times do we look in the mirror and we don't see things realistically just because we are blindsided? And so that's why we believe that feedback is so important, especially in organizations in the workplace. So tell us, what kind of questions did you get today? What do you want us to cover? What did we get from our listeners?
Yes, first of all, we are going to discuss about feedback. What is
Mhm.
feedback? Because different people can think about feedback in different ways. So we need to understand what can be a feedback for me and what can be a feedback for you. Because if I want to give you a feedback, I need to understand your definition of feedback so you can understand what I'm saying to you. And then we will discuss a little bit about how can you as a leader give feedback to people in your team to make sure that they understand what you're saying, and also vice versa. It's not enough you as a leader to give feedback to people, but also to receive feedback, because in any interaction with any human being, it's important to have a feedback, at least to understand if what you're doing is in a good proportion or not, and try not to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results if you don't change anything, of maybe you are not aware of how to change things. So receiving and giving feedback, this is the main topic that we will have for today. So Florin, I will start with the first question. How can you give us a definition, if you can give us a definition for feedback, what would that be?
Yeah, so if you think about feedback, it is actually a reflection of what we're doing, or reflection of what we're doing. If you look into the mirror, right, what you get back, you get feedback on how you look, right? But
Yes.
we maybe do that. I know you women maybe do that more often than we do, but we do that just maybe. I do it once a day, maybe, or just before this show, I wanted to make sure that my shirt sits right or something like that. But think about feedback like almost, going around with a mirror. Like if you go into a meeting with a friend where there is another coworker there, or maybe your leader is in the meeting with you, they're more or less holding a mirror back to you. And sometimes that mirror could be just a piece of glass, so your image goes through it, or if there is, so think about that, because they are, how many people do not offer feedback just because they don't know how you're going to perceive it, and they don't know, they don't want to offend you or upset you or discourage you, and so what they do actually nothing. So you don't really get,
Yes.
or it's your friend, and they like, or it's your mom. Like my mom loves everything I do, so I will never ask my mom if I'm doing right, because she's probably gonna say, yeah, absolutely, I love everything you do. So that kind of
That's
feedback,
perfect, right?
exactly. So so it's no reflection coming back from that kind of mirror, right? So if you
Mm.
think about that, someone that gives you feedback is holding a mirror rather than holding a piece of glass, where whatever you say goes through that glass, or your reflection, your image that you project on the outside goes through that, glass, to that window, out, and you never get any kind of feedback back. You don't know
Mhm. Mhm.
if it worked, if it didn't work, how you could do it better. And so what we need to do, we really need to be these kind of reflections for the people around us. As leaders, we need to be that kind of reflection, that sounding board, if you like, for our team members, and give
Mhm.
them feedback, and help them see things that they cannot see, help them see a different perspective, help them see what they could be doing better, or maybe give them a different perspective. When we talk about diverse teams, the reason why many organizations say, well, we want more diverse team, and they work towards that, is because when you have different perspectives, the results of whatever you're discussing gets better, right? Think
Yes.
about a meeting where you come and you have an idea and say, okay, you're having this presentation in front of your team, and say, hey team, I think this is our future, I have this idea, and you share that idea, and you ask them, what do you think? And there's silence. There's
That's a
two things
feedback.
happening. Right? That's also some kind of feedback. And that feedback usually means either everyone is on board, and everything is crystal clear, or they haven't understood anything. So then they cannot give you any kind of feedback. They cannot ask anything. But that's a bad place to be, right? So feedback, in my opinion, it's someone holding a mirror up to you and just giving you a reflection back of what you put out into the world.
Okay, so I really like this example, this metaphor with the mirror, because first of all, it's not you holding the mirror in front of you, but somebody else holding the mirror in front of you. And you get back what you give. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really important that you also mentioned that one, the phrase with, it's not just a piece of glass where the information just goes through. It gets
Exactly.
it is reflected back, which is very very important, because I'm thinking about feedback, and I also have the feedback cards in leadership game, and I talk to people. This is
Mm-hmm.
one of the most famous cards with with receiving and giving feedback. And usually when we discuss about feedback is very, even though we don't want, even though the theory says that feedback should be objective, we 99% of the time give the feedback subjectively, and we give it from our own perspectives. And this is a matter of time, if we if we want to follow the advice that people are giving us, and who is the person giving us the example, the feedback. So there are many many other parameters when we think about feedback. Giving and receiving feedback, is very important to understand who is the person who is giving the feedback, what is the
Absolutely.
relationship with that person. Exactly, but like you said with your mother, your mother, of course, loves everything about that you're doing, and she's maybe not the perfect person to give you a very honest feedback. But
Yeah.
I need to ask you about this situation. If you are in a working place with people around you, and you are in the meeting, like you said before, you're presenting a new idea to people, and afterwards it's silence. Nobody's saying a word. That's a feedback. And we discussed about this kind of feedback in a previous video. That is actually a lack of trust. Yes,
Absolutely.
if I
Absolutely.
remember correctly, because people maybe may not trust you enough to give their own honest opinion about your idea.
Absolutely. Can I add something to what you
Yeah,
just said there? Because
please.
I love working with this metaphor with the mirror, right? So if everyone in our team will go around with just a piece of glass, let's say they have a piece of glass, they keep in
Yeah,
front of kind of their face, but they have a choice to either color that piece of glass, on the back side of that with a different color, or just leave it, transparent. So if it's transparent, whatever you say, it's either reflecting back to, well, you did great, and you don't know what that happened, what that means, because many times they compare it with their performance. So I love this. There's an example from a really well-known speaker, Les Brown. And Les Brown was coaching. I was a part of a coaching call where he was coaching trainer speakers and consultants on to how to get feedback on their public speaking experiences. And he said, if there are people coming to you and telling Florin, this was the best speech I ever heard, uh, but if that might be the only speech they ever heard, and if they compare your performance on stage compared to how would they speak if they will be on stage, right? That doesn't say much about you, right? Because
yeah,
you don't want that kind of feedback from those kind of people. And what he said, Florin, never praise the feedback coming from untrained ears. In other words, if the person that you're asking feedback from is not an expert, doesn't understand the topic and the subject that you're asking feedback for, they will never be able to give you an objective feedback or constructive
yeah,
feedback. So,
yes,
so to that extent, not everyone will have an opinion about that. Not everyone will be able to offer to you that kind of feedback because they might not be good in that area. So it's also very important for us to know who to ask for feedback and for what kind of feedback. For example, if I want feedback about my marketing, I will go and see my marketing mentor, Mike Kim. If I want feedback about my offer, my selling, I will go and see Paul Martinelli. If I want feedback about my leadership skills, probably we'll talk with John Maxwell. So I have people and I have mentors in each area of my important area of my business where I can get feedback from because I know these people know the area. So that was just to remind ourselves that not everyone offering feedback might have a formed opinion about that kind of about the area that they're offering feedback. And when we come back to the metaphor with the mirror, with a piece of glass, so if you don't color that piece of glass on the back of it, it's not a mirror, it's just a piece of glass. So whatever you say, it goes through it, right? And so you made a really good objection there, observation, sorry, there, because when you think about different people having different opinions, is we color the feedback that we give through our own opinion, through our own experience, through
yeah,
our own personal stories, right?
yes,
So for someone that had a public speaking being something that is scary, they might want to pass on that idea to you compared to someone that it's a professional speaker that they love being in front of an audience. So everyone either has the piece of glass which is just transparent, whatever you say goes through it, you don't get any feedback, or they have it colored with different colors which influence the way they offer feedback. It's always, you said we want to offer objective feedback. Feedback is almost never objective, it's always subjective from the person that it's offering it.
yes, you're right. And I also actually struggled with this feedback all my life because the way you said it, people tend to give a feedback to the person, not to the behavior. And I later on find out about this kind of feedback. So for us as leaders, we need to be aware when we give feedback, to other people, even though it's in a family or in our businesses. We need to take into consideration the situation, the context, the action, the behavior, and try to remove the person from it. And
Yeah,
I can give you an example. Well, it's this is in a family. I can This is the more simple one. You didn't do the dishes. That's a feedback, right?
yeah,
But it's not like you are not able to do the dishes. It's like you didn't wash the dishes. This is actually the feedback for that. You didn't wash the dishes. This is a behavior, and it is way different than you are not capable of washing the dishes.
absolutely.
And we
So
need to
that's
think about the same thing when we are in business with our employees and people around us. When we are giving feedback, we need to remove the person from the behavior and give the feedback on the behavior.
absolutely. So those are, if you would ask me what would be the two things. So one is to be able to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Like if I'm gonna
Yeah.
give this feedback, what I'm gonna say right now, and I'm gonna say that to Madalina, how is she gonna feel about it? Like, would she become defensive? Which means that maybe I'm too personal and I'm talking about the person and not the situation. Like exactly what you just mentioned. If we're able to say that was a stupid idea rather than you are stupid,
Yeah.
or
Way
that
different.
idea that we tried didn't work rather than you didn't work, right?
Can I give one observation here for him, because you said something very important, is that idea is stupid
Mm-hmm,
versus you are stupid.
mm-hmm.
If we think about and we give an example as a feedback, that idea is stupid. If we hear the word stupid, we will definitely attach that stupidity with the person or
Absolutely.
with us in this situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I think a better solution, this is in my perspective, this is what I also learned. Uh, Try to avoid these kind of words like hard word, harsh words. Try to put as many objective words as you can. So avoid stupid, avoid bad idea. Bad to who? To you? Because for somebody else, for me, when I got the idea, it was a perfect idea. But for you, it's
yeah,
bad idea. So who is here to compare? So try to avoid in this situation the bad reflective words in this situation to make sure we have a good feedback to give to people in a let's say most objective way possible.
yeah. So that idea didn't work. That could be a
Yes.
good way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't work.
That
How
didn't
can
work.
we? And also, what I have found is when we can use, because again, when you think about feedback, another thing that I will add for leaders is that whenever we give feedback, think about um, praising the successes of a person in front of the team, but then coaching the person in private, right?
Mhm.
So you don't want to talk about something that didn't work in front of the team, because if there was one person which was more active in that idea than others, that person will definitely kind of take ownership, and whatever it said, they will take it personally. So whatever we want to, whenever we give feedback, is giving that kind of positive reinforcing feedback in front of the team and celebrate a little victory, and then give the coaching to the person and have that kind of conversation in private. But whenever we're able to separate, as you said, the person from the action or from the activity, and we are able to take ownership and we say that idea didn't work, now how can we do better next time? Can we do better? Not how can you be better next time, right? So
Mhm.
you take ownership together with the person and say, how can we improve on this? And also, we didn't say how we make sure this is not going to happen again, because that's a really hard thing. And how can I know that this is never going to happen again? But what we're saying, how can we get better at this? how can we do this better next time? Because if you know that innovation and coming up with anything new takes a lot of tries and errors, then you know that failure is part of your daily activity. So asking, this is not going to happen again, it's okay. So then we're not going to try.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't try, it's probably not going to happen again.
Yeah, it definitely will happen again.
Yeah.
I have another observation here. You said, how can we improve it?
Hmm.
And this is something important for everybody listening to us, because we are talking about feedback in a group or in front of a group. So
Hmm.
it's important. And I also have been part of meetings where, let's say, there was a mistake. Somebody did something like a bad thing. I cannot tell you exactly what. But in the meeting with the leader didn't blame. You did that, so now we need to fix. No,
Hmm.
definitely this is not a good approach. Definitely not a good approach. But you said something that is actually very important for any leader. Of course, things will go bad inside a team. People will make mistakes. How can we give the feedback in such a way that everybody understands and nobody feels ashamed, and nobody will stop doing anything after this kind of meeting? So this is a very, very example for you, Florin, just to give us how can we as leaders set the room to give the feedback to everybody, so we make sure that we improve as a team.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that we could do as leaders, first, I think if we just set the stage by, first of all, I think making fun of ourselves. Like, that was really dumb. What we tried to do there. I don't know how we come up with that idea, but that was really so then you kind of just relax and people laugh a little bit, and then, because if you go there with, well, with just with very serious face, people will start to worry, are we going to get fired, are we going to get salary cut, what is going to happen. You don't even know actually what went wrong if you go with that attitude, because people are not going to share. But
Yeah, yeah,
if we
exactly.
just kind of say, okay, so we understand that in this business of ours, it's impossible not to try things that will not work. So this is one of those things that didn't work. So now let's have a little bit of, let's laugh at ourselves, because everybody else is anyway laughing. Like, other departments are laughing. If it's something that was big enough, people are laughing already. So let's also kind of acknowledge that, and then shift the tone a little bit and say, okay, let's look at what went wrong, right? What did we so what didn't work? Because unless we go and look at um, objectively at the situation, we're not able to learn from it. So the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing is that we don't talk about it just because it's too charged, and the stakes are high and we don't want to talk about it, or that we don't learn from it. So unless we're able to kind of just um, set the stage for that meeting a little bit more informal, right? To just for people to relax a little bit, for them to be
Yeah.
able to share the stupid things that they have done and why we ended up in that situation, and then shift the tone towards, okay, so now let's see what can we learn from it, and
Mm-hmm.
ask the team, um, what do you think we should be doing differently next time?
As a
And the ideas,
brainstorming. Yes, like a
absolutely, and the
brainstorming.
ideas will come. The ideas will come, and when they come up with the ideas, they're more likely then to implement those ideas next time, rather than you coming there and say, okay, this is the management decision, I think this is what we need to do, and this is what will happen, so we never do this, we never do that unless it's signed by me, it's approved by me. They're not going to try it again, and then you're not going to innovate, you're not going to have new ideas. But having that moment where first you acknowledge, okay, so, because depending on the kind of error or mistake, really, some people might be afraid, or in some situation people would get fired. So unless we're able to just reassure people that no one is going to get fired, and this is part of our journey, and we needed to learn this to be able to do this better. uh, Unless we do that, then we're not going to get the feedback from the team on what we could have done better. And the leader should set the stage and share one or two things that he or she could have done better or differently. And from there, hopefully the team will also share, if we're able to set that stage, which is a little bit more informal, just for people to be able to share and relax rather than being very tense and afraid to say anything that might be used against them.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about, because we have few minutes left, and we
Mhm.
did. I want to get on with the how to receive as a leader, how to receive feedback from your people. Because okay, it's one direction to give feedback, but the other way to receive feedback. And can you tell us some advice? How can leaders make sure they receive constant feedback from their employees or their colleagues?
So first of all, leaders have to ask for feedback. That's the
I
rule.
agree.
Because as a leader, you might believe that it's your responsibility to give feedback to your team, but very few people will feel that it's their responsibility to give feedback to the leader. So you, as a leader, you have to first of all acknowledge the areas where you are not your strengths. So I would often say, like, this is not my strength area. Help me understand here, what I could do better. Like, how can I support you better in this area? And by starting with that statement, help me understand, and saying that this is not my strength area, I'm kind of acknowledging that I don't have all the answers. So
Yeah.
so then I kind of open up for that kind of feedback. So first of all, ask for feedback. Secondly, when you get feedback, answer with curiosity. So ask some contextual question and say, what do you mean by that? What makes you say that? Can you give me an example when that happened? Can you give me some context on your feedback? Because usually feedback is, this is one of the most kind of generic type of feedback. Madalina, I think you should be more proactive. And what do you do with that? Right?
I don't know how to take it, because I don't I know I'm proactive, but if I receive this kind of feedback from my boss, for example, I would be very confused. I
Exactly.
am proactive and you're saying I should be more proactive. Oh my god, what's that? I don't know
Exactly.
how
So you
to
ask
take
some questions. You ask some questions and say, okay, so can you give me some context on your feedback? Can you give me an example? What makes you say that?
it.
What are you
Hmm.
thinking about? And say, well, that situation with that customer there, when I felt that, and you say, oh, okay. So that's one situation. At least you know what they're talking about, and it might be
Yeah.
something that is very fresh on your mind, or if something that you even forgot or never been aware of. So
Yeah.
then at least you have a conversation, and you see, okay, so that situation, now we have at least a concrete example. Okay, so help me understand, what did you see in that situation that I didn't see? you know can you share with me your perspective? That's when we use the diversity on our teams, right? Rather than convincing people on our perspective, we just ask, can you share with me your perspective? And just being curious, or on what kind of, because 99% of the time people have good intentions when they give feedback. 99% of the time people want to help. They don't want to, you
Yeah.
know for you to feel bad or to judge you or to mistreat you. They don't want that. So it's very important for us to understand where is the person coming from, and by asking these kind of questions, it helps us. So from both sides of the equation, not only if you're a leader, but most importantly if you're a leader, because it will be very easy for you as a leader to dismiss someone's feedback just because you feel I'm a leader. I don't have to listen to feedback from my you know team, which is a stupid thing to say as a leader, but some say it. So it's very easy as a leader to dismiss feedback, but it's much more difficult if you are part of a team and your manager or your leader gives you feedback, because they're your manager, they're your leader, they're quote unquote entitled to. So that would be the things that I would do. First, ask. Second, answer with curiosity, and just get a lot more context on where is the feedback coming from.
That's very nice. Thank you for this advice, Florin. I know that once we are talking about feedback, there are many other topics to discuss about feedback, and maybe we can continue some other time with this topic. Because I have some other topic in mind for next time. Just for let everybody know, we are going to talk about motivating your team.
All right, I'm so excited about
Um,
that. So
yeah.
I'm so excited to share more about how can we motivate people, and I think we're probably gonna do another episode on feedback. We're gonna
Yes.
dive deeper in a few weeks time, and then if you have any questions or any other requests for other topics that you would like us to cover, just either hit us on with a direct message directly on LinkedIn here, or maybe put it in the comments, and we're gonna take those and make sure we take that input into the next episodes. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining me today, Madalina. It was great.
Sure.
I think this topic, as you said, it really worth more than just 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're going to
Definitely.
continue on this. It was a good start, so we're going to continue on this on another episode.
Good. I'm looking forward for next week. Have a good week until then.
Okay, you too. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.